Oh, yeah.
To paraphrase the great LeBron James, not 7, not 8, not 9, but 10 cases of Diet Mountain Dew. How about them Cowboys?
I brought out.
Thank you for winning the NFC East and winning 10 more cases of Diet Dew from this Cowboy hater across the table.
I brought out 3 weeks ago.
You did not.
Yep.
That's a lie.
You refused to let me out
That's
of it.
a
But I
lie.
tried to buy it.
You tried and you failed. Happy new Cowboys to everybody out there. Thank you.
I celebrated joy. I mean, hey. Christmas only happens once a year.
Yeah. A 10?
A 10.
Cowboy hater Shannon Sharpe gives him a 10.
I gave him a 10.
Did you hear that guy?
Let me tell you
It
what.
is a first.
Let me tell you why, Skip. Because I thought they dominated an inferior opponent in all 3 areas. You look at their offense and what Dak was able to do. They ran the ball just well enough. And the reason why the play action, the passes worked so well, because they couldn't stop the run with their base front. And so now you got to start cheating guys down. And now Dak play action, throwing the boot. I thought Dak did a great job of moving around, buying time in the pocket. Sometimes he escaped, got a first down with his legs. Other times he escaped pressure, got outside, hit CeeDee Lamb, hit Amari Cooper, hit Michael Gallup down the field, or throwing the football. Running the football, Zeke ran with conviction. Skip, he didn't have 30 yards, 40-yard runs. He didn't go over 100. But I thought for some first downs, he ran the ball extremely well, got the ball into the end zone. Pollard came in there, gave him a little juice. Offensively, I thought they dominated. Defensively, they said, look, we are a better football team. Our defense is better than your offense. They got into a lot of pressure front, Skip, what we call a bear front, where they cover the center and both of the guards, trying to find mismatches. You got Randy Gregory, and since D-Law has come back, D-Law's looked like a guy that went to Pro Bowl, guys that was an all-pro, a $20 million defensive end. That's what he's looked like in his return. This is what was so frustrating, because you knew it. You saw what he did to get that money. And then you look at the last couple of years, he was nothing like what he's playing right now. And maybe that could be a contributor to number 11.
Thank you.
But the guy on the other side ain't playing too bad either. Randy Gregory's playing out of his mind.
He is.
It seems like everybody's playing out of their mind. Like, hold on. Because if I don't get there, Parsons going to beat me to him. D-Law going to beat me to him. Gregory going to beat me to him. And then the punt team, Skip, they got involved in it. So I gave them a 10. It wasn't so much that, they played well. They played an inferior opponent. But a lot of times we've seen the Cowboys play inferior opponents, Skip, and it comes down to a field goal. It comes down to late in the ball game. They left no doubt with about 8 minutes into the first quarter that we're the best team tonight. Washington packing stuff up. It got so bad that we had the teammates fighting each other. We're going to talk about that a little later, Skip. But I'm going to give Dak that offense credit. I'm not saying they're back. They did what they did to an inferior opponent. I'm not saying they can play this well against Green Bay, Tampa, or the Rams. But last night, this was as good as they could have hoped for. They looked really good last night against an inferior opponent. Give them credit. I gave them a 10. There was nothing to nitpick about. Dak was sensational. He took what they gave him. And he got a lot. He took a lot. But, Skip, I was impressed with what they did to an inferior opponent. Give the Cowboys credit. They're the division champs, and they played well last night.
My friend, I thank you for everything you just said. Thank you for, at least for one day, giving them their due.
56-14, how can you not?
Now back to the question. Impressive scale of 1 to 10. I'm going all the way to an 11 in honor of 11 from heaven. My man, Micah Parsons, a guy you saw coming even before I did. You said he'd be the best defensive player in the draft. He might just be the best defensive player in football right now, because I still think he can make a run at being defensive player of the year beyond just defensive rookie of the year. And once again last night, he was all over the field. Bottom line, biggest takeaway, on Sunday Night Football, live on NBC, I believe America's team sent a resounding message to America. We have arrived.
Against Washington football team?
I'm about to get to that. Finally, a complete game from my team. Finally, I saw combined firepower and star power on both sides of the ball that had me seeing stars in my eyes. All night long, I'm blinking because I'm starry-eyed because there's stars all over the ball. Dare I say that I saw the makings of a Super Bowl team out there. It might not be this year, but it well might be next year. And it's got a real shot at taking off this year because right on schedule, right on time, the day after Christmas, my team looked like it took off, albeit against the Washington football team, but I'll get to them again in a second. I'm talking about a team that now leads the National Football League in yards gained and points scored. Is that good this late in the season?
Yep.
That's pretty good. I'm talking about a defense that leads the National Football League in opponents' third down conversions allowed. Is that good?
That's great.
That's really good.
What were they? One for whatever last night, 2 for whatever last night?
Every game,
3 for 13, my bad.
Every game, somebody's 1 for 10 or 2 for 13 or 4 for 16.
Well, 23% is good.
They do it every game to everybody. They are now number 1 in takeaways and obviously number 1 in interceptions. Is that good? That is great. In the most telling stat of all, turnover ratio, they're now tied for second, just 2 behind the Green Bay Packers, who are playing at a supremely high level. But be careful, here come the Cowboys. For weeks, we have talked about how Dak Prescott has been in a slump. Dak is back in the saddle, off a game last night that he direly, sorely, desperately needed, and he got it. And he continues to almost delusionally say after the game, slump was your word, not mine. Well, even your owner said you were in a slump. Right. You were in a slump. You were killing him last week, and you deserved to kill him last week. And yet he rose and he's shown on national TV. His 3 receivers at the Giants had a combined 90 total yards. Yeah. They had 210 yards at halftime last night. It was a wipeout of a blowout by halftime. It was 42-7 by halftime. And Dak Prescott had thrown for 322 yards and 4 touchdowns by halftime. That is extraordinary firepower. You could see the potential sitting there all year. You'd see bursts of it. Right. I saw, well, how long did they play? I saw 3+ quarters of it last night because that's all they were able to play. I thought they actually stayed in too long. But I saw more takeaways. I saw a block punt. Takeaways are contagious to me. And all of a sudden, everybody is getting in on the act. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to be objective about this because you said there's nothing to nitpick here. I'm going to nitpick one play, and it came on the first series of the game, a 3rd and long. It was actually 3rd and 16 at their 32. And this is the only glitch of the night. And it scared me. In fact, it horrified me. Dak just threw underneath to Cedric Wilson. They just gave him shot. I don't think he was going to make it. And all of a sudden, he throws a backward lateral pass, unscripted. What are you doing?
I don't know, Skip. Because we've seen teams do this before. I mean, Amari seemed to be waiting for it. He just dropped it.
I don't think it was called at all. I don't. I could be wrong. He looked like he wasn't ready for it.
It might not have been called from the sideline, but it seemed they had talked about
Maybe
this.
Maybe they had talked about it. I don't know. Cedric Wilson has thrown passes before, and he can throw it.
Yes.
But Amari dropped it, and it almost turned into a disaster on the first series. And that was that.
Right.
Because what happens on the first, we had to punt, obviously. Right. And then on Washington's first play, little Tyler Heineke, what does he do? He says, you know what? We can scorch that guy, that number 7 over there, because he's given up the most yards of any corner in football this year. And he goes deep. And guess what? Diggs was digging it. He said, thank you. Oh, thank you. I'll be the primary receiver on this play because I played receiver at Alabama, and in high school I was a star, and he just goes up and takes it in just like it was intended for him.
Yes,
am I right?
You're right.
That was his 11th interception of the year. Again, he leads the league in yards allowed by any corner. No cornerback has given up that many yards, which is actually a blessing, which means there's no Dion effect going on because they all try to throw on him, don't they?
That's why he's graded so poorly, Skip. I mean, if you look at, actually, Brown is graded higher than Trayvon Diggs, and one got 11 interceptions, the other guy got like 2 or 3.
Okay, so Taylor says, I got you. No, he got you.
You got to double move him, Skip.
I got it. So it's 11 interceptions, tying my friend Everson Walls. I was there. I covered that team in 1981. It ended with Dwight Clark's catch in the end, back at the end zone at San Francisco in the NFC Championship game over Everson Walls.
Right.
He was an undrafted rookie from Grambling, and everybody threw at Everson Walls because he really couldn't run.
He couldn't run.
He was like a 4'6" guy.
Well, you better throw it over his head because you throw it in front of him, he's going to pick it.
He's going to pick it. So congratulations to Trevon Diggs, and congratulations to Everson for hanging on to that record low these many years.
40 years?
That's pretty good. I'll take that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, then we go to the turnover number 2 that you talked about. Tank Lawrence, as they call him. D-Law, as I call him. This is a play. This might be the best defensive lineman interception and defensive lineman interception return of the year.
Oh, the run is unbelievable.
Oh, it's like the best. He looked pretty good. He looked like he's got running back potential.
These guys are good now. He's like, oh, I'm not going to get to the quarterback. Let me read his eyes, jump up.
To tightrope the sideline at, I'm sure, what's he weigh, 290 maybe? Is he 300?
No, he ain't that big, Skip. Okay. He's probably like 275, 280.
I don't know. Boy, he looks 290-ish to me. He is a big man and more of a run stopper than a pass player. And yet, that just took my breath away. I said, okay, now it's gone silly, great, crazy, right? And then if we could see the block punt just to show, this is what happens when these things start happening. They just keep happening.
Yeah, this is nothing. This is regular punt, and he just crossed his face. You know you can't let the guy at the wing, you can't let him cross your face.
Okay.
Make him go around the edge because the punter's going to step up. You never let the guy cross.
Okay, so that made it 56. And yet we go back to Dak Prescott. I do think that much of what he did last night was because Kellen Moore was flat out on fire. Everything he touched, Kellen Moore, the play caller, turned to gold, as in like Super Bowl gold. From start to finish, if we could see Dak's touchdown passes, the first 3 are just scheme passes where you've just out-schemed them. You just out-tricked them. You fooled them to Zeke. Nobody took Zeke coming out of the backfield. Then here's the second one, a little rollout flip to guess who? His favorite receiver, Dalton Schultz. Nobody home. And then here we go again to, guess who? Tackle eligible, Terrence Steele. And this is the last one. This is a good throw. Yeah. That's a pass for a touchdown.
But, Skip, here's the thing. Think about it. Washington played on Tuesday. No Landon Collins, no Holcomb. They're down with a couple of DBs. So now you got young guys in there. So you take advantage of that. This is what you do. You take advantage of a situation where they're without some of their players playing on really short week. They're probably a little sore, feeling sorry for themselves. The Cowboys are not going to feel sorry for you. This is our opportunity. I'm sure Mike McCarthy said, guys, this is our opportunity to get back on track. We should go out there and play very good football, and we play very good football. The results will speak for themselves. He didn't name a number. He said, but if we play the way I know we can play, I think we'll be very pleased with the outcome. That defense playing like that, Skip, if you're going to tell me, look, because right now your offense is complimentary. Your defense is the turkey.
I'll buy that.
Your offense is the dressing.
If you lead the NFL in points and yards, that's some dressing.
But think about
that might be the best dressing ever cooked.
Think about what you've seen over the last 4 or 5 games from your defense. 3 to 4 turnovers every game. 4 to 5 sacks every game in the last 3 to 4 games.
Would you go so far as to agree with me? Best pass rush in pro football right now?
They are right now.
Okay.
They're playing right now, and since they bumped D-Law down inside and you got Gregory, and see, Skip, I know you don't like how Dan Quinn is using.
At least he rushed the passer more last night.
But Skip, a lot of time what they're trying to do, they're trying to find a weak link. It's not so much about him just who is our best guy in this situation. So let's cover up on the guard center, so that way we're going to put Micah Parsons on the back. We're going to put him on a slow guard. We're going to put him on the center. So now he has to snap the ball and try to keep Micah Parsons out of the 8 gap. Good luck with that.
He has the best closing burst of a pass rusher I have ever seen, including the greatest ever, Lawrence Taylor. I'm talking about closing burst. Lawrence was much more physical than Micah. Micah gets caught up in the wash against the run. He's still a slender kid from Penn State, first year. What is he, 20? He's
probably 20, 21.
20. I think he's 21. But the point is, he doesn't even have his man body yet, and he will get a man body. Lawrence Taylor was just pure, raw physicality.
Yeah.
It was just man strength where you just couldn't block him physically.
And now, Skip, he's not going to have to be that physical a player because they're not asking middle blockers. For the most part, Skip, you're playing in space, so you're not really having to drop your hips and try to thump somebody, taking on guards and things of that nature. He'll be just fine. If I was him, I wouldn't gain a pound because speed is how I'm going to make my living. To continue to be able to close like I close.
Some of his spin moves, he was spinning on the tackle last night. He actually did a complete 360 right in his face and went around him. And I'm like, who has that kind of feet at that size, right?
Because they're so afraid, Skip, of him running around them. How do I set? If I set light, he's gonna run the edge. If I set heavy, he's gonna spin inside on me. I mean, how do I win against the kid right now?
Okay, back to the Washington football team. We owed our arch rival for what they did to us last year because it got ugly. It got ugly at Washington. Washington. Remember what they did to Andy Dalton? They literally knocked his head off, and nobody came to his defense in the offensive line. It was my low point of last season.
Right.
And then they came in here on Thanksgiving at Jerry World and just did a number on us. And Antonio Gibson ran wild, and you had 5 plays you called up the next day where we were giving up in the game, right?
Yep.
Okay, we owed them, and did we ever pay them back? Because look what we did to them. Remember what had just happened. Starting November 14th at home, they beat the GOAT. They beat Tampa head-to-head. Taylor Heineke outplayed Tom Brady in that game. Then they went to Carolina when Carolina was riding high, and it was a fairy tale return by Cam Newton. And Taylor Heineke outplayed Cam at Charlotte. And then Seattle came in a big night game. Was it Monday? I think it was Monday night at Washington. Taylor Heineke outplayed Russell Wilson. Here they came. Then they went to Derek Carr, who had just beaten us on Thanksgiving. And Taylor Heineke outplayed Derek Carr at Las Vegas. They won 4 in a row, and then we visited. And what happened? We knocked their block off. We knocked them off their little pedestal that they were riding high on. And I don't think Taylor Heineke has been the same since he got his head just about knocked off by Micah Parsons.
He looked bad last night.
Well, he's losing his nerve. Listen, who wouldn't against that pass rush? Because he knew what hell was going to be wreaked on his head last night, right? Yeah. And he was looking sideways and seeing ghosts. Well, so they lost to Dallas, and then they have to turn right around quickly and play Philadelphia. Well, they actually got pushed back, but they played Philadelphia and got run off the field by the Eagles, who were suddenly catching fire, especially with the run game, as we saw again yesterday. Yep. And then we hit them again right between the eyes, and I think we finished them off for this year.
I think so. I think so, too. That 56-14, I don't think there's ever been a game in which the Cowboys have beaten the Washington football team like they beat them last night. So that's not boding well for them. Obviously, they're going to still fight with Ron Rivera in there. They're not going to give up. But, Skip, that did a lot of damage to their ego. Psychologically, that did a number on them because they couldn't do anything.
Trust me, I know this rivalry cold. There is nothing like either Dallas humiliating Washington or vice versa. It demolishes their psyche. It's hard to bounce back because you hate them so much. And if they do that to you, it's such a lasting embarrassment that it's hard to dig out from under it.
Because, Skip, we know, look, we play you guys every year. For 70 years, we played you guys every single year, twice a year. We know you. It doesn't matter the coaches. It's Washington versus the Cowboys. And for you to get 56 on a division opponent, Skip, we very seldom do we see 56 points on a division opponent. Regardless the team, regardless the AFC North or AFC West, whatever the case may be, 56 points on a division opponent, and it could have been 70. Just think if Mike McCarthy says, okay, guys, just keep going. We're going to play all the way through the third quarter. Man, they'd have put 70 on y'all.
And I'm going to remind you, last night we once again rested our all-pro left tackle, Tyron Smith, who's got an ankle, but I think they're just trying to save him for the stretch run here, maybe even for the playoffs. And so we get back to Shannon Sharpe's declaration, this team will be one and done in the playoffs. And I'm starting to think, is it possible they might be 4 and done in the playoffs? How about 4 and done?
You ain't thinking about no 4 and done. Well, let me tell you what this. If you get to Washington, because theoretically, if they started today, you'd get Philly. I mean, It's all about matchups. Now, you mess around and get Philly, okay, yeah, you're going to win a game.
Okay, we got to play in the last game at Philly. It was going to be like we did against Donovan McNabb, Romo's year. That was actually a playoff win for us. We beat them back-to-back.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. You guys are going to play it out because you guys still have a chance at the #1 seed.
We do.
So ain't going to be no resting like Dak his rookie season where Dak played like one series, Zeke didn't play at all. Nah, we got 2 games to go, and we got a chance at the #1 seed. If Green Bay falters, we went out. It's us.
No, but remember, Tampa's sitting right there. Don't forget that.
But if
they beat us in the opener.
Here's the thing. It's a 3-way tie.
Yeah.
You're 9-1 in the conference. You got a better record. So if it's Rams, you, Tampa, you get it. Now, if the Rams lose and you and Tampa go head-to-head, Tampa would beat you because they beat you head-to-head. But all you could hope for just keep on winning, Rams. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. We keep doing what we doing. We could possibly 1-2.
I'd even take the 2 right now.
No. I want you to be with #1 seed because it'll hurt a little bit more. Because that way you have everything you want. We the #1 seed. We got #1 scoring offense, #1 yards offense. We take the ball away, yada, yada, yada.
Yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see how happy you are?
We got this.
You see, there you go.
All right. Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.